day 3 of the standoff between the Kenyan army and militants who took over a mall in Nairobi. On Saturday, Somali members of al-Shabaab opened fire and threw grenades into the shopping center, killing 68 people and injuring at least 175 others. Late Sunday, a military spokesman said that most of the hostages had been released, but according to the Associated Press, a person with knowledge of the rescue operation said that no hostages had been released or rescued overnight. Al-Shabaab said the attack targeted non-Muslims, and it was in retribution for Kenyan forces' 2011 push into neighboring Somalia.
This weekend, Secretary of State John Kerry spoke out on the attacks and called Saturday's assault on the shopping mall in Kenya's capital, quote, an enormous offense against everybody's sense of right and wrong. And he described the attackers as ruthless and completely reckless terrorists. Now, Kerry was, of course, referring to the al-Qaeda-linked group al-Shabaab, which has claimed responsibility for that attack on the upscale Westgate Mall in Nairobi.
This is, I can't say shocking. Again, there's always talk of retribution for other forms of bombing, like in 2011, but I was a bit surprised of the timing of it. Was there any indication this was going to happen now?
I mean, not that I've seen in terms of, what possible communications are that they had been picking up, although, we'll hear from Congressman Steve King in just a moment, who's been speaking out about this because he's on the Homeland Security Committee. I just think that it's always shocking, it's always senseless, because that's what terrorism is, right? And that's what it's supposed to do, is just inflict mass damage, no matter who the victims really are. But I think that there are a lot of questions that are always raised as to why it is that people are radicalized. Why it is that something like this spreads, because there are some Somali Americans that were recruited into this operation as well. And so you have to question why it is that people would want to come from America. What it means when we get involved in foreign conflicts, especially local civilian conflicts as well, too.
No, absolutely. I guess the timing for me is odd, because we're at a moment where the United States is on the defensive, where people aren't actually talking about al-Qaeda as the primary purveyors of terrorism. They're talking about the United States. They're worried about strikes in Syria, and even al-Qaeda's role in Syria is somewhat being minimalized. It would seem to me, even in the sense of sort of establishing global relations, that al-Qaeda could just lay low for a minute. I mean, even from a strategic perspective, it would seem odd to me that they would put themselves right back in the center of controversy at this moment. It would seem to me that if they laid low, stayed out of the way just a little bit, perhaps some developments in Syria, some developments in Somalia would actually play to their strategic advantage. I don't
don't know, right? Inside the mind of a terrorist, right? What would you do?
But they always seem organized. I never thought of them as just reckless. Even as despicable as what they do is, they always seem to have a plan and a strategy, and this seemed to me to be